There is absolutely no need to go into meetings and talk in marketing mumbo jumbo. I love it. I'm a marketeer. There's nothing more I love than having a really technical conversation about it. But not everyone wants to hear that. So keep it really simple. Speak plainly and be honest. Don't make things up. Don't be worried to speak the truth and be transparent. Say I don't know when you don't know.
Hello and welcome to the Armchair show. I'm your moderator, Tanisha, and I'm so thrilled to be joined by David Thompson from Green for Motor Company here today. So for the benefit of our listeners today, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your role and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm David. I work at Green for Motor Company. We are soulless Mazda dealerships. I'm the group marketing manager. I've been there, I think, just over 4 years now. Time goes really quick in automotive. But yeah, I look after all our customer acquisition and customer retention.
Perfect. And you've already answered my next question of how long you've been doing that.
Yeah.
So perfect. What is it like working in the automotive industry?
Challenging. I think, being totally honest, it is hard work working in the automotive industry. It moves so quickly. You've constantly got something new, a new challenge to face. However, it is so rewarding when you put the work in and you meet the challenge and you get the outcome you want.
What do you find most rewarding?
Building things. So because the automotive industry moves so quickly, I like over a 6-month, a 12-month period measuring what we're doing and actually incrementally moving towards a big goal at the end of that year, at the end of 2 years. I find that really rewarding and quite rare in the automotive industry.
Nice. And you said about the industry being challenging. What's the biggest challenge that you see related to marketing in the automotive industry?
Communication. I think actually convincing the senior leadership teams, the directors, the owners across, dealer groups across the industry, convincing them in the value of marketing. And I know this isn't industry specific. This can be across, all the other industries. But because of automotive is so objective led, it is about selling units, it's about generating leads, having the trust of the directors and the senior leadership team as a marketeer. Is so important, and you've got to gain that to be successful, and that's no easy task.
That's so true. That's so true. And for anyone listening now that's perhaps in the same seat and they're perhaps struggling to have those conversations internally, what advice or tips would you give those people?
Break it down. So I've always made it my mission not to sit there and speak in marketing jargon. There is a time to be eloquent and use specific language. But that isn't all the time with everyone, and there is absolutely no need to go into meetings and talk in marketing mumbo jumbo. I love it. I'm a marketeer. There's nothing more I love than having a really technical conversation about it, but not everyone wants to hear that. So keep it really simple. Speak plainly and be honest. Don't make things up. Don't be worried to speak the truth and be transparent. Say I don't know when you don't know. And I think it's probably quite rare. I've probably come across quite vulnerable because people don't talk about these things. But it's so important to say I don't know when you don't.
Oh, it's my favourite thing to say in a meeting sometimes. Is to say I've got absolutely no idea. I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
That's so true. And I think in marketing specifically, there is so much jargon, isn't there?
Yes.
Like, we love a buzzword.
Yeah.
Like, we love an acronym. We love to make it complicated. Sometimes we sound like scientists rather than marketers. And the ability to break it down and to actually make it common sense and something that somebody can understand is so important.
It is,
Any tips for how to do that and how to do that well? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that one.
I think not getting carried away with the conversation as well. So you can really go down a rabbit hole of technicality, try and draw yourself away from that and keep yourself focused on the end goal and what you're all in the room to discuss.
And how has your role, so you've been there for 4 years now.
Yeah.
Like, how has your role evolved and changed? I imagine it's changed quite a lot from when you first joined to now.
Massively, yeah. So when I joined the business, it was a month before a big world event. Not going to name it. And I was very fortunate. I'd just joined the business. We'd worked towards March. I I was very fortunate to be kept on in my role, which I didn't think would happen. And it was my job to look after CRM or email, all of that, and communicate with our customers during that time. Everyone knows why that was so important. From that point, I was a one-man marketing band, really, just sending some emails, trying to keep on top of all the different things we're doing. Before I mentioned like building things and moving towards something, so I got to build up a team of a photographer, of a marketing executive, a marketing assistant, and over several years we came up with the different goals to work towards, and I went from being a one-man marketing executive to a manager, managing this team and growing this team, making sure these people, I was passing on all the best knowledge I had and my learning, so these people could succeed and eventually be better than me.
I love that. So supporting your team to eventually be better than yourselves.
Yeah, that's the idea, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that ultimately my job's to make myself redundant, to make everyone else around me so good that I'm not needed.
Yeah.
I love that. In terms of future vision, so you're 4 years in now, what does the future look like? What are you trying to build now? You said you like to build things. So what, for the next 12 months, 24 months, what would you like to build?
So at the moment, the next few months, it's really challenging at the moment for lots of reasons. Cost of living, I'm not going to go to all the finance details about it. However, retention is an absolute objective of ours over the next few months. The team are working really hard. We're creating amazing video content, amazing written content to keep our Mazda customers as engaged as possible, adding them extra value at a time when there's Chinese entrants, there's really exciting electric car product out there, and keeping them in the Mazda brand.
And how do you think that dealers can improve retention at the moment? If you were talking to another dealer group that didn't know where to start, what would you tell them?
Focus sometimes the things which drive the best retention are the things which you can't necessarily directly measure easily. So it's not necessarily about spending X amount of money and getting Y return on investment. It is the things like spending hours writing really good crafted emails and content, creating videos for your customers which add value to their experience with you. It's these intangible things which you can't get from another dealer because they're not doing it. And I really think that's one of the best kept secrets. It costs little money in terms of investment, lots of time, lots of resource, but the reward will be massive over time.
And what advice would you give to somebody that's maybe just starting out? They may be searching for their first job in marketing right now, or they've just started their first job within the industry in marketing. What advice would you give them?
Ask for help. Ask so many questions. So day one of getting to the business, don't be scared of asking the senior leadership as many questions as possible. Ask them for their time. Sit down with them. Find out what the issues of the business are. If you have a marketing manager or someone to support you, ask what their worries are, what their concerns are for the business, and how you can succeed to help with that. I think never ask too many questions. Although do be conscious you don't really want to annoy people, which I think I do sometimes do. One of the tricks, especially in automotive, it is so fast moving. Every member of staff is so busy. So one of the things I used to do, and I don't recommend you do this, is I would, no matter who the manager was sitting with and what conversation he was having, as long as the door was open, I'd go in and I'd sit down and I'd wait until they're finished, until it was my turn to say my piece. Because I just know if I tried to book in a time, it wouldn't happen. If I didn't go and see them, it wouldn't happen. So that was one of my I don't recommend doing it, but one of my unconventional ways of getting people's time. Don't do it for confidential conversations, obviously.
I like that. Just walk into a room and sit yourself down.
And just camp there until I get the time.
That's one way to make your mark.
Yeah.
And what has been your biggest challenge joining the industry, working in marketing? What's been your biggest challenge yet?
So I think it came to a shock to me how focused dealerships are on numbers. Obviously, I was a graduate out of university and I thought marketing was this lovely, fluffy place to work. Oh goodness, it wasn't. I was taught the importance that what you have to do has to have a really clear rationale, and you've got to be able to provide results, because if you don't provide the results, you won't be around for long.
Yep, that's so true, isn't it? I think that when we all look back at studying marketing, it was a lot more glamorous, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
And in real life, there's a lot more numbers and spreadsheets than we ever truly envisioned.
Yeah, like I love education. It has made me. It has meant I can go on to do what I'm doing today. My undergrad I did opened up so many opportunities. However, they teach you how to do it, and they teach you what best practice looks like. But the disconnect between what you're learning and what happens in the industry is massive. And you've got to almost have 12 months, 24 months in the industry just as a sandbox to learn.
Yeah.
How does this weird but wonderful industry operate?
Absolutely. And then, like you've already said, the industry is so fast moving.
Yes.
Like, how do you stay ahead of that? Like, when it's moving so fast, how do you, as a marketeer, keep on top of that?
I think it's a balance. It's a balance of knowing what your company's objectives are. At Green4 Motor Company, we're very clear on our objectives of providing the most amazing customer experience with product we know is really good. And I think sometimes you've got to be conscious not to get distracted by the new shiny thing which is coming along every month, it feels like at the moment. There's a new piece of technology to achieve something in marketing coming out almost every month, and it's about having really clear goals, knowing what you want to do, and if it does fit in with your goal, amazing, you've found a product which is going to help you towards that goal. But if not, you need to be really disciplined.
And one of the things that we were discussing, I hope you don't mind me saying, before we started filming, is we were talking about suppliers in the industry.
Yes.
And I guess to any suppliers that are listening right now, what would you say makes a good supplier? Like, how can a supplier be better and better serve dealers?
Listen to what I want to achieve. So it's so important that a supplier actually sits down with me and finds out what are my long-term goals. And don't just listen and then respond with, oh, well, I can sell you this, which is going to get you there in no time. Because in reality, it's not, is it? It needs to be a really good relationship where we work together over a period of time and you're listening at every stage.
And what's your pet peeve that suppliers do? If they're listening, what's the one thing that they can take away from this and maybe stop doing?
So I get frustrated with being sold to. And I know suppliers have to sell to me. That's the idea. But it's so frustrating because every meeting I have, when I eventually pick up the phone or I let someone have my time, which I'm really busy, but I'm not saying my time's golden, but when I let someone have my time, they then seem to waste it. They magically somehow seem to waste it. And I've found myself, I've stopped accepting invites to see products now because, and this sounds really rude to suppliers, but I get so bored in the sales pitches and I just turn off, and they can
Death
feel
by
that.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's not nice for the account manager selling it to me because they know I'm not interested. I'm just sat there like, and that's not me. I'm really enthusiastic about marketing and I love it. And I think something does need to be done about that so we have better relationships.
I couldn't agree more. I'm sitting here now thinking, I really hope I don't make people feel like that in my meetings.
It's something I've realised recently, actually, because I've had some really interesting meetings recently where people actually want to discuss the industry and we share insight and we build a relationship on that, and it's so refreshing. And I think because I don't do that many physical meetings anymore, lots of them on Teams, the biggest problem, which I really hate now, is I can see myself. And I can see my face and how uninterested I look. And I try so hard. I sound like a horrible, rude person.
No, you
now.
don't at all. Not at all.
I try so hard. But yeah, I think there's something to be done there.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't agree more. And one of my favourite questions to ask as a really good final thought on the podcast is, out of everything that you've learned in all of your journey, 4 years before that at university, are there any useful resources that you would like to say to people, go away and read or listen to, whether it's a book or a podcast or a YouTube channel or anything that you would recommend to say to anyone listening now and they think, that's brilliant, how do I learn more on that? And how do I get better at that? Any good resources?
So I think absolutely everyone has to look at Dave Chaffee's digital marketing content.
Okay.
So that's one from university.
I haven't heard of that one before.
No, it's the fundamentals of digital marketing. in theory,
Mm-hmm.
which is an absolute you've got to listen to. Another one, which is a plug for another podcast, really, is it's one
Fine.
I've listened to recently, but it's the Diary of a CMO.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. It's so raw, so honest.
Mm-hmm.
60% of it I like. I'm a critic, you may be getting this now, but absolutely go and listen to that, because it will give you the reality of marketing,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is important. Lots of podcasts and resources don't give you the reality of it. So they're the two I'd look at. There's one side of it's theory and will give you some really good tools to do your
Mm-hmm.
job, and the other side is the visionary bit and kind of what the industry can be and,
Mm-hmm.
and what it is.
Nice. I love that. Perfect. Thank you.
That's okay.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Armchair Show. To our listeners, we hope you find the conversation as enjoyable as we did. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a comment.